Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Candice Covington. Candice Covington is an aromatherapist and the author of Vibrational Nutrition, Understanding the Energetic Signature in Foods. Welcome, Candice Covington.
Thank you for having me.
So, Candice Covington, what exactly is vibrational nutrition?
So the basic concept is not only does each food offer vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we're familiar with, but it has a vibrational signature that creates specific states of being. So we can consciously use our diet to create specific states, emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
This is a very important concept that you're talking about. I remember one of my favorite books is a book about Chinese food energetics. And it talks about how different foods balance different acupuncture meridians. So, for example, one of the things we know is that leafy greens help to balance your liver meridian. Can you give us some good examples for our audience about what is vibrational nutrition and how they can use it in their everyday lives?
Absolutely. For example, since you brought up leafy greens, kale is an extremely good vibration for somebody who wants to study basic ancient traditions and be able to understand sort of things from that thing. And it also facilitates how to verbalize and express the things you studied. Whereas spinach is also a leafy green, but it has more to do with internal mothering and being mothered and connecting to universal energy. Whereas rocket, on the other hand, is all about calming kind of chaotic energies and finding a central balancing point.
This is fascinating information. So, Candice Covington, how did you come up with this information?
Well, I've always been food centric and plant centric to begin with, and I've always studied in very well, any way I could possibly get my hands on. And I always had a singular prayer in my heart that I literally wanted nature to teach me directly. And eventually, honestly, I was contacted by two buttercup fairies, and they started teaching me directly. And then I started to have a series of numinous teaching dreams where I was basically what I believe is the archetypal energy of each plant started communicating to me an aspect of its personality or dharma that it wanted to be able to share with humankind. And I just started transcribing it at first just for my own personal healing in a journal. I started seeing a Jungian analyst who helped me really tap down into it. And I decided to collate it and share it in the form of a book.
That's fascinating. So basically, the information in vibrational nutrition, understanding the energetic signature in foods, is channeled information, correct?
Correct. From fairies and the plants themselves. Yeah.
Now, what's very interesting is that your background is with aromatherapy and flower essences. And one of my favorite authors is a woman named Michelle Wright of the Perelandra Institute, who makes flower essences. And when you read her biography, which is called Behaving as If the God in All Things Mattered, when you start out, you hear about Michelle Wright, and she's this lady who talks to plants and trees, and you're like, okay, sure. And then you read her biography, which is about how when she was a young girl, her mother and father abandoned her when she was about 12 years old. And she learned to survive literally by communicating with plants. And then she went on to develop her own line of flower essences, which is the Perelandra flower essences. So how did you begin to communicate with plants and develop this strong connection with the plant kingdom?
First, I love her work also. She's brilliant. And I honestly think I incarnated in this life as it being my dharma. My mom tells me hysterical stories about when I was a little girl. I would go out and I would pick all these different things, and I would come in the house and want to rub them on her feet and tell her elaborate stories about what they did. And before I could even drive, I was probably around 12 years old on a bike. I would take my allowance money, go down to our only health food store and buy essential oils and just scour all of the books, and I would sell them to just anybody in the neighborhood instead of like a lemonade stand. So I think I just always had an extreme fascination when it comes to plants. My first book is actually about essential oils, and so I definitely am passionate about that. But I started really thinking about the resonance of food. That is one thing that everybody partakes in, and it informs every single part of our process inside and out. And I started getting curious, noticing how I would leverage food choices to either avoid something that I didn't want to work on. So I'm not extremely routine oriented, and yellow crookneck squash is literally for helping you create an organized schedule and stick to it. And I would find that logic said that I didn't like to eat that plant because of the texture or taste, but I came to realize, no, what I was doing was basically trying to bypass like a structured life. And so now I eat it on the regular to help me create routine. And so a lot of it came from really understanding what the food did for me with incredible epiphany aha moments. And one of the more fascinating ones is a past life experience that I had that had deeply kind of rooted, honestly, anger. It's embarrassing for me to say but it was so strong and I couldn't understand where it came from. I mean, nothing in my life pointed towards a would-be, and I craved the shellfish mussel. I could not eat it enough. And I realized my body was helping to alleviate and get rid of these emotions that were so troubling to me that were not being generated in my current life.
So I think the work that you're doing is quite fascinating. Someone once asked me what I thought was the most powerful natural healing remedy, and I said flower essences. And so for our audience, flower essences are made from flowers. They have no bad side effects. You can be taking medications or supplements and take flower essences. And what they do is they're what's called vibrational remedies. So they balance your emotions, your thought patterns, and work also at the soul level. And so flower essences, in my practice as a medical intuitive healer, I use flower essences from all over the world. Also, essential oils, but flower essences for sure more often. So it's interesting that you've taken your work with flower essences and aromatherapy into understanding the energetic effects of food. Now, one of the things that we know from flower essences is that there's something called the doctrine of signatures. So for our audience, Candice Covington, as an aromatherapist and flower essence practitioner yourself, can you explain what exactly is the doctrine of signatures?
Nature is so compassionate, first off. Basically, all that means is literally its physical shape relays what its interior function is. And so, for example, many flower essence practitioners say bell-shaped flowers have to do with soul, star-shaped ones have to do with more spiritual aspects. And specifically within my system, I think a darling one is potato. It grows eyes. It lives in the dark. It's able to do all these things. And this one has to do with psychic development that has specific applications towards very practical outcomes. So it's a hard worker, but at the same time, its little eyes see in the dark. So that's a good example of being able to penetrate into mystery through the literal signature doctrine of the actual potato. Oh, and then the colors tie into it too. So like if it's a purple potato, it would have obviously more to do with the third eye. If you're going to do red, it would have more to do with like the root chakra. So so nature not only color codes itself to help you understand which chakra in general you should work with, so you can, you know, really dynamically, when you eat that food item, direct it towards your goal.
Right. And there are definitely other systems of nutrition where they talk about balancing our chakras by harmonizing the food, the colors of the food. So for example, when you're wanting to work on your heart, you want to eat greens, right?
Yeah.
And the blues help with fifth chakra, and yellow fruits and vegetables help with second chakra. Would you be willing for our audience to walk us through some of the recommendations that you make for balancing different areas of our body using foods?
Oh, absolutely. So is there a chakra you would like me to focus on? Like what pops to
Can
mind?
you just walk us through, based on your book, Vibrational Nutrition, some of the basic areas of the body that we can strengthen using your system of food healing?
Okay, well, for the seventh chakra, in my system, it's white foods. So basically, any food that is white, you know, and like lotus root is a good example. Bamboo shoots, water chestnuts, you know, cloudberries, things of that nature. So not only so in my system, what you would do is you would read the signature of the food itself to understand its primary function. And then you would look at the color as a secondary. And then you would read that as a sentence. And if you found it applicable for what you wanted to work with that center, you use it in conjunction. But if you only wanted to work with the chakra energy and not the base vibration of the food, you could just tune into the color white. And as you consume that, that would help you open up to the gifts that were involved in the seventh chakra. And it goes the same way all the way down.
All right, so let's talk about our third eye, our sixth chakra. What foods should we eat if we're wanting to strengthen our third eye?
Well, one of my favorite is borage oil. That one is so beautiful for making into salad dressings. It's amazing delicateness to go with it. Violet, the actual flower, you can do either the leaves or the petals. I mean, that's wonderful in salads. You could even freeze it into ice cubes for, you know, sipping in the summer. And one of my personal favorites are the violet radish. That one brings numinous teaching dreams. That one is just excellent for really opening up like just very direct information flow, and surprisingly sweet for a radish.
Okay, and our fifth chakra, our throat chakra. What do we eat when we're strengthening that?
Blue and black foods for that one. So you can do either blue or black. So forbidden rice is a fun one. Of course, blueberries, you know, anything of that nature. You get a lot of berries that come from that. And then there's obviously Peruvian blue potatoes and things like that as well.
And for our heart chakra, what do you recommend?
Both, in my opinion, it can be both pink and green. You know, and so I love a lot of the really vibrant pink fruits for that. So I love, for example, like passion fruit. That one is just so sweet and loving when it comes to that, or dragon fruit, as far as really opening up that sucker, that center. Then, of course, the greens, you know, which is the more traditional color to go there. But butter lettuce is a personal favorite of mine for that area.
Okay, and for our third chakra, which is solar plexus area, which also has to do with, paradoxically, energetically, with our digestion, and so many people have trouble with their digestion. What do you recommend for third chakra?
That one is in Ayurveda, it's also the mental body. So, I mean, that's a complex place. It has a lot of energy going on. So again, anything that falls into the yellow category, but lemon is especially dynamic, because what that one not only helps with digestion, but it also organizes the mental body. You know, and so much worry comes in for people that frequently lead to, you know, to digestive disorders. So I really love lemon as an organizing factor for the way your mind works, to allow you to navigate your world with a little bit more comfort.
Okay. And our second chakra, which is our sexual chakra, what do you recommend that we eat to strengthen that area?
Oh, papayas and mangoes, all those really juicy, luscious, and so much about their gifts that are amazing is it's about building emotional IQ as well. And so it also has to do with freedom and movement in the hips and being kind of naturally graceful. But a lot of it has to do with also deep creativity and again, building emotional IQ.
Okay. And finally, for our root chakra, first chakra, what do you recommend that we eat?
So again, anything that's red, but anything that's just a root by definition, obviously, is going to be super helpful. So a lot of it has to do, one of my favorites is red potato for grounding in. So that one really helps you put like, that one's very fun. It helps people build community. So if to eat a red potato is an invitation to get involved with like your farmers markets, your local small restaurants, your small businesses, local musicians, like anything that has a profound sense of what makes your community a community and allows you to graft into that and be in interaction and support them and in turn be nourished by their interaction with you.
Now, we've talked about the energetics behind strengthening the chakras with our food. Does your system also go over strengthening the acupuncture meridians with food?
No, that is not something I discuss at all. So it mostly reads, honestly, like a dictionary. So there's over 400 food signatures from the plant kingdom, also the mineral kingdom, and then fish, poultry, and then four-leggeds. And so what I've done is I've broke those down into basically a paragraph write-up. So that way, and then you can really have a strong sense of how and why food interacts with you. And then I also go over how to use recipes to create narratives. So you can like create a living story that your food brings forward. And so it focuses more on that aspect.
Wonderful. Now, your book, Vibrational Nutrition, Understanding the Energetic Effect Signature in Foods, as we're having this discussion, you're talking about a lot of foods that a lot of people never eat. Passion fruit, mango, papaya. Maybe they don't have access to it in their local grocery. How can people go about expanding their palate into these different foods that you're discussing?
I am so glad you asked this. I have found this to be true over and over. I think most places now you can and your grocer will absolutely order in anything you ask for. I live in a super small town in Oregon. I mean, I couldn't be as like, I mean, I'm a very isolated small place, but I have built relationships with my local farmers, which, there's big energy on heirloom booms right now, but also just on my regular grocery market, I'll ask for things all the time I want. Like I wanted a black radish recently, which, it has been around since the 1600s and not easy to get your hands on, but I just have made friends with the woman who was in charge of ordering. And I said, hey, do you think you could keep an eye out for me? And sure enough, I went in 2 weeks ago and I found that it was there. So build relationships with the people in your community that do have ability to help you find things, and also just be curious about things, and really try it with an open mind. And even if you think you don't like something at first, just give it a go, and then retry it every 30 days or something if it really does have a vibration you want. And soon enough, your body will not only adapt to it, but be excited by it. Like, I love the idea of challenging your palate and also making unconventional recipes. We always think that, this only pairs with this. There's so many fun things that you can put together that seem unlikely, but are amazing.
This is wonderful advice. And by doing that, by reaching out, we're going to be supporting local businesses, local farmers. I know here in the Atlanta area, my boyfriend bought shares from a minority organic farmer. And then he and I go every 2 weeks to pick up the vegetables. And we're eating different things like watermelon radishes and sunchokes.
Mhm.
that you wouldn't necessarily be able to find at a local grocery. Now, so many people, as you know, as the author of Vibrational Nutrition, are on a very repetitive diet. I think they say the average person only eats about 20 different foods in a week. So, how does repetitive eating lead to poor health, eating disorders, and a disordered relationship with food?
Well, you're ingraining the same thing over and over. You're not allowing any fresh information into your continuum. And this would go into, I would take a heavy look on why you're so reliant on those foods, because it's probably, you're at an unconscious level, would be my guess, is what you're doing is you're shoring up a behavior. And if you don't allow that new information in, you're not going to have a well-rounded experience. And so I think just challenge yourself when you go to the grocery store, pick one new item and do it intuitively. Take your left hand, even though you're in public, don't be embarrassed, just shake it out. Nobody's going to know what you're doing. Set the intent and say, what would most feed my soul? And then I do this all the time. And I just put it over all of my little, fruits and vegetables and everything. And then whatever I get the strongest sensation from, I select that. And then I go home, and I think it's important to be in deep relationship with your food. So, we've traditionally prayed over foods or be mindful over preparation, but really go home and connect with this plant and give thanks and say, I am so curious about you. What do you want to tell me? How do you want to help me? How do you want to inform my life? And then you can, of course, reference my book, but also I have a guided meditation in there that helps you understand and open up the channels so you can start to have more direct conversations with your food yourself, because they're amazing guides and they genuinely want to see us thrive.
So, Candice Covington, author of Vibrational Nutrition, how can expanding our diet, like we talked about, help people overcome eating disorders and disordered relationship with food?
Well, they become your genuine friend. So you don't have a combative relationship anymore. You look at them as like basically as I can't even stress this enough. They become friends. So I know that might sound silly at first, but really sit with it. So what happens is they become your ally in absolutely everything. So if you have a desire or pain or worry or something that you want to achieve, they're always there for you. And what an intimate relationship. You literally consume them, take them into your being, which becomes your being. I mean, you can't have more intimate relationship than that. And so once you have that mind shift from, this is something I shouldn't eat because it's going to make me unattractive, or, I'm angry at this, or, people have such love-hate relationship with food, which is so unfortunate, because if you're eating whole foods, you really can't go wrong. It's just not. I mean, it's hard to consume more calories than you're supposed to if you're eating a whole food diet. It's only when you start to eat processed things, which is not a part of my system. So the more you befriend actual food, the more it nourishes and supports you. So I hope that answered your question.
Fabulous information, very, very helpful. I couldn't agree more that we want to make friends with our food. Now, your book is about the energy of foods. So, one of the things that I know as a medical intuitive, that when we pray over our food, we literally shift the vibration of our food. What is your experience? And can you explain for our audience how important it is when we start to eat to, say a prayer of gratitude for the food and to bless our food?
Oh, 100%. And again, if you don't get caught up in thinking things are silly, talk to your food while you cut it, like when you scrub your carrot. I mean, have like really like treat it not only just in the reverence of the prayer for saying things, which is 100% I do, but even in the preparation, if you kind like allow yourself to have like an intimately casual relationship, like where you chat up your fruits and vegetables while you prepare them, while you're seeing to them, while you stir them in the pot. I mean, the more actively you engage with your food, the more energetically it will allow itself to come into you. I think nature, it always wants to be in relationship with us and always wants to be in a deeper relationship than most human beings allow. So the more you soften yourself up and allow yourself to be more porous, the more the plant is able to affect you on a deep level.
Yes. And I know when I have my dinner, I sit down and I say a prayer over the food, and it really definitely shifts the whole vibration.
Oh
And
yeah.
especially now during the coronavirus pandemic, one of the things Oxfam International talks about how we not only have the coronavirus pandemic, but we also have a building crisis coming for a worldwide famine, where the problems with the virus has disrupted food supply chains. And here in the United States, with the economic devastation, 1 in 4 families don't have enough food. So, as a medical intuitive healer, I feel that one of the most important emotions that we can feel about food is literally gratitude. I'm thankful that I have food to eat today. How important, Candice Covington, do you feel gratitude is as far as the energy of what we're taking in for our overall health?
I would say it's paramount in every way, shape, and form. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I feel like that's such a self-evident truth that not much needs to be said about it. It's food are small miracles that they grow into what they are, and that they taste so amazing, and they have all of those nutrients, and that they sustain us on so many levels. And plus they're little works of art. If you really take time to feel the gratitude to really see each as for the beautiful little being it is, I mean, I can't help but be filled with gratitude. So I 100% think it just makes you a happier individual all the way around to live in a state of grace. Why would you not want to be in gratitude to have such a dynamic relationship?
Yeah, my old book that I've had for maybe 20 years about the Chinese food energetics, it talks about the different foods for the different meridians, parallel to your system where the foods strengthen the chakras. It has a wonderful saying that, the most important thing is your relationship with your food,
Yeah.
right? So, like you said, if you think, oh, this food's going to make me fat and unattractive, and that's your relationship when you go to eat, that's the energy you're taking in. Versus if you're truly filled with gratitude that you are one of the lucky few who gets to eat today, and maybe you're one of the lucky few who gets to eat a truly healthy diet, that's also the energy that you're taking in, not just the vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals from the food.
Yeah. And plus, it allows you to have just an infinitely better day. Like for this evening, like I'm so excited to think about what I get to cook. And one of the things that I picked up yesterday that I am just gaga over is fennel, because it's about heightened creativity, but concerning a topic you already know about. So when we're finished, I am going to make myself a lovely little apple and fennel salad, and I'm going to meditate and sit with her before I start the second half of my day. So I have great gratitude over the things you say, but also for the way that nature facilitates my ability to do things in a heightened manner that I know I could not do on my own. I am not as never, I genuinely 100% believe that 90% of anything that I'm capable of doing in my day is basically nature holding me up and giving me a directionality towards it. So profound gratitude around that.
So that's such a wonderful message. So, if anyone who's listening, if you've had a history of a disordered relationship with food, whether it's an extreme eating disorder, overeating, undereating, as you become to appreciate the fact that you get to eat and that you get to eat maybe high quality food and understand the energetic signature in foods, you can begin to transform your personal relationship with food. Now, Candice Covington, as you know, many of us have food cravings. We crave
Mm.
sugar, we crave salt, maybe we crave hot foods. What do these food cravings and aversion say about us?
Okay, I love high quality salt. So I have an entire chapter that I break down different vibrations of salt. And so I think salt in its own right is not bad as long as you don't use one that's highly processed. The rule of thumb is if it's processed, just don't go there, but it's like, for example, one of my favorite is black sea salt. That one taps you into the collective unconscious, and it is so dynamic in that it also operates in the principle of three. So what it does is it helps you dream something up from the void. It has like that energy of logos where it like organizes it into bits and pieces. And then it also helps you birth it into the material plane. So I use that all the time with intent when I'm in the middle of a creativity. So that one is amazing. But where if you did a red sea salt, that one's all about energetic purification. So if you're like nursing a broken heart, or you're mentally very upset about something, either that's really happening in real life, playing out in real life, but we also can be distressed about things that we just know that are going on in the world that haven't touched us yet, but it just is unsettling. That's a great antidote. So again, craving of the salt isn't bad. It's just how you use it, and into, again, proportions, like befriend it, and then decide how actively you want to use it, and so I think that one's super fun. I can't encourage you enough. If you have not explored salts, really dig into artisan finishing salts. They are beyond.
And as a medical intuitive healer, one of the things that I find is that so many people are mineral deficient. And if you're mineral deficient, you're going to be functionally dehydrated because your body can't hang on to the water. So I'm constantly recommending different natural healing remedies for functional dehydration. Functional dehydration is going to affect your blood pressure. And what I find as a medical intuitive is that if you do have high blood pressure, that you want to avoid processed salt, but things like Himalayan pink salt, and you're nodding your head and totally agreeing with me. If you've got high blood pressure, use Himalayan pink salt, which is high in minerals and will actually support your blood pressure. Avoid the processed salts, right?
Oh, yeah. And plus, we all came from the same gorgeous primordial ocean. I mean, if you really eat something that's oceanic like that, oh, your body just screams in ecstasy over it. Yeah, no, it's such a big difference between, like you say, that, refined salt and then literal salt, that is beautifully fresh from the ocean. But in the pink, I mean, obviously it's mine because it's primordial, but still, it's the same concept. It has the same vibrations, minerals, all of that nice stuff.
Now, what would you recommend for any member of our audience who craves sugar? There's so many women I find who are craving sugar.
That one is so interesting to me because I did not incarnate to crave sugar. So that's not my personal, thing. And plus, I honestly don't eat processed foods ever. So it's like, that's so far outside of like what. When people say sugar, do you mean like a cookie or like stir it into your tea? Or do you mean like you crave sweet fruits? I mean, that one's a slippery slope for me.
All right. So I'll just share with our audience. I have, if I can remember it, a 4 S&P program, what I came up with to help people with who are craving sugar. And lots of people crave sugar. So this would be whether it's sugar in your salt or sugar in your tea, to cookies, ice cream, candy, all that. So basically you want to get more sleep, you want to get more sunshine. Let me see if I can remember it. You want to maybe look and make sure that you're including zinc in your diet, and you want to make sure you're getting adequate protein, because if you're not getting enough protein, you will crave sugar. And if you get enough, putting it on the positive, if you get enough healthy proteins in your diet, you'll notice that you will no longer crave sugar.
And if you do want the sugars, maybe towards the those really succulent fruits, back to the mangoes and the papayas, they're basically like pudding in like whole food form.
Yes, and I personally, I eat berries literally every day of my life.
Mhm.
And it's a variety of blueberries. This morning I had raspberries, blackberries, and these berries, the purple berries are high in anthocyanins, which are water soluble antioxidants that are so good for you. And raspberries are high in a phytochemical that's actually known to prevent cancer. So, do you have any other suggestions for our audience, Candice Covington, about how your system can help balance out food cravings?
Well, for example, you brought up raspberries. This one comes up a lot for my clientele because a lot of people that are attracted to my type of work that come to me, they're extremely empathic. So they have very porous auras to begin with. And so raspberries naturally help you only take in the information that is correct for you to process and filter, and it keeps out like unwanted things that are just noise and that would niggle at your soul and make you feel unhappy inside. So raspberries literally, besides what you say, that's what I love, is they're so dynamic. They work on the physical plane, obviously, so amazingly. But even if you are truly an empathic individual, just a couple of raspberries a day, it is going to literally help you navigate through the world in a more comfortable sensation. So, I mean, yes. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of those. And a lot of people I know that have really benefited incorporating that into their diet more.
Now, no wonder I crave it. I literally eat berries of some kind every day of my life for breakfast. It's part of my routine. Now, recently, Candice Covington, I did a medical intuitive reading with a lady and her daughter. And the daughter was about 19 years old, had a horrific skin condition that no doctor could figure out. No medication could touch. And the first thing that I said to the woman, who was a health coach, and her daughter, was that they needed to stop microwaving their food. I said, nothing should, if you eat or drink anything, nothing should go into your mouth or your body that you put in your microwave. So here was this lady, this certified health coach, and her daughter, who'd been to every doctor under the sun, and they're microwaving their food. And I've had clients with cancer, they go buy organic foods, very expensive organic foods, they come home and microwave it. So, can you please, again, in your own words, explain for our audience? I have a whole file I send people. It's like, this is why you should not eat microwave food. So, why should we never put anything in our mouth to eat or drink that's been in the microwave?
Well, you're neutralizing it. You're zapping any of its vital energy. So, I mean, yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, it just really quickly, yeah, no, you're basically neutralizing any benefit it's going to give you. So even though you have the sensation of being full, you don't get the energetic or the physical benefits from it. So it's kind of, well, very sad, really, because you're going to have the sensation of fullness, but you don't get to derive any of the benefits that should come from eating said item.
Okay. And I'm
Oh,
going to add, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
So, and I'm going to add for our audience, anything that's alive, we're talking about energy, the cells spin clockwise. And when you microwave food, it reverses the spin of the molecules. Now, when people have cancer, energetically, your cells are spinning backwards and toxins drive deeper into the cells. So, if you want to avoid getting cancer, one of the most important things to do is never eat or drink anything that's been in the microwave. Scientific research shows that even eating microwave vegetables will raise your cholesterol. And many people who have chronic digestive problems, again, it's not the quality of what they're eating, it's the fact that they're microwaving it. So it's not just that they're deadening the food, it's that you're allowing toxins to drive deeper into the cells, and you're completely irradiating your food. and zapping all the energy from it. So part of the reason that we eat whole foods is to give us energy. Do you have
Yeah.
something to add?
Oh, yeah. No, I I haven't had a microwave since I moved out of my mother's house at 17. So literally, I've again, this is probably not something I experience on an extremely personal level. Yeah, so yes, I mean, and when I was uh, I, at 17 years old, I did not know any of those things you were saying, but at an intuitive level, I knew that I did not want to use that as a course of action. And so I think that's so interesting, just that even as a young girl, I deeply felt that that was not a mode I wanted to use for creation. And I know we're all busy in modern times, and this is a slight divergence, but I don't really think so. It is so important to take the time, I think, to be in relationship with your food, the act of the cutting and, the cutting and the cooking and the stirring. And so, I mean, that is also so impersonal, that not all the things you said, but also I can't imagine a more way to be divorced from your food. That is like the most impersonal form of like creating a meal.
And
Unbelievable. Like,
I do have a microwave, and what I use it for is I have these fabulous beanbag neck warmers. And in the evenings, I heat up my neck warmers and I put them around my neck, and it just feels fabulous. Now, Candice Covington, um, can we use your system to heal emotional and spiritual wounding?
absolutely. That was a big part of the drive for it, is to understand. I wanted very specific tools to allow people to have very concrete things that they could call upon if once they became to awareness. And it's actually a twofold system. So if you can use it as an oracle. If you find yourself craving something, and you just can't eat enough of it, as long as it's a whole food, look up the signature. It's going to alert you what is going on at the deeper level of yourself. And then once you're consciously aware of something, it's so much easier to heal. And so it's a way to become aware of yourself. I love the concept that's taught in almost all Eastern philosophy. As evolving human beings, our primary job is just to become aware of ourselves, and so getting to know yourself is fascinating. And this is a dynamic way to do that. So if you figure out a food craving, look it up, because your deep self is begging you to pay attention to something. And then you can just, once you're aware of it, you can consciously work on it and obviously incorporate it into your diet. But equally, if there's something you just absolutely dislike, you'll hear people say, oh, I would never eat fill in the blank. But as long as it's a whole food, it's, again, not a physical issue. You need to look at the underlying energetic pattern and why the deep self does not want to incorporate that aspect. So it helps you basically figure out where your soul wants to go and what your soul is resisting, basically cultivating. Because human design is very complicated. We dig in our heels over things we don't even know we're digging our heels in over, and so this is just a nice way to help your body move forward, and your soul and your mind, everything.
Now, one of my 10 books is called Unlimited Energy Now, which is all about how to have more energy. Because probably the number one issue for my new clients is everybody's so tired. They're stressed, exhausted, and tired, and they need to replenish their chi. So my book, Unlimited Energy Now, goes over everything you could do on the physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels to rebuild your energy. Well, in Unlimited Energy Now, I have a lot of information about food and eating for energy and the importance of including phytochemicals. So phytochemicals are the nutrients in fruits and vegetables. So it's not just vitamins and minerals. So how can eating high vibration foods improve our overall energy?
It improves every single aspect. I mean, it is like the fundamental fuel. I mean, if you think about it, if you eat something that's dead and has no nutritional value at all, it becomes dead weight in your body. And not only on a physical level, making you sluggish and feel terrible all the way around, but also it's like putting a great cloak around your soul. It just deadens everything. So the more vibrant and alive your food is, I mean, even if, like, I know this is going to seem like such a silly small example, but eat your produce while it's fresh. You know, why when you go bother to go to the market, don't shop for a whole 7 days if you know you're going to get it stuck in the back of your fridge and you're not going to be able to get to it. Buy what is fresh and beautiful and use it in a time frame where it's still vital. I mean, the more vitality you infuse into your system, the more you're going to be energized from the inside out, because allow it to be your ally. I mean, and I feel so bad for like all the wilting spinach in the back of people's fridges, you know. You know, only buy what you're going to consume in a realistic time frame.
Okay, Candice Covington, author of Vibrational Nutrition. Any final thoughts for our audience?
Love your food and let your food love you back, and create good relationships with your food, and try not to cook so much with recipes all the time. Allow your imagination to make interesting food synergies, and then look them up on the far side, because it'll reveal a narrative to you. I mean, learn the language and become in relationship with your food.
You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio, your global feel-good radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. Please visit my website, catherinecarrigan.com, and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today is Candice Covington. You can find out more about Candice Covington and her wonderful work at her website, divinearchetypes.org. And remember that when you change your relationship with your food and express gratitude for it, you're going to have more energy and you're going to heal yourself naturally. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.